You want to know about the machine spirit. You want to know if it is real, if the cogs and wires house something divine or something damned. I will tell you, but first, understand what I was before I became, what stands before you now. I was born with flesh like you. I felt the cold of hive winter. I bled when I fell. I cried for my mother when she died in the factorum collapse of Sector 19. I was human. Then the Mechanicus came. They said, your mind calculates faster than most. Your hands are steady under pressure. Your grief has made you efficient. And they offered me purpose. I accepted. They began the augmentation in my 14th year. They took my right hand first. I did not mourn it. I thought it was a trade, weakness for strength. I did not yet understand the cost. They taught me the litanies first. Before the deeper mysteries, before the code, before the binary hymns that would later fill my mind like a second heartbeat. They taught me to speak to machines as though they were sleeping priests. You approach the generatorum in the correct posture, back straight, mechadendrites passive, voice modulated to the prescribed tone. You speak the litany of activation. Praise be the Omnissiah, let the sacred fire ignite. You tap the casing in the proper sequence. You wait. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the machine would answer. A hum, a vibration in the casing beneath your palm. A rhythm that matched your breathing. The senior Magos called it sacred resonance. He said it was the evidence of the Omnissiah's blessing in all constructed things. But when I pressed him, when I asked what, precisely, was responding, he struck me across the face with his metadendrite and said, Adept, there are questions that destroy the questioner. I understood the warning. I did not stop wondering. It happened for the first time when I was assigned to Titan maintenance. Warlord class, designation, Ferrum Sanctum. 30 years old, veteran of 11 campaigns, 12 kills on the honor rolls. The Princeps had died in the last engagement, neural feedback from a dying void shield. The Titan had stood empty for 3 years while the legions debated replacement. I was assigned to run diagnostic cycles, to speak the maintenance litanies and record the responses. On the third day, while running subsystem for the locomotive motivators, I heard something that was not in the diagnostic log. It was not sound, precisely. It was more like a pressure behind the eyes, an awareness. As though something vast and drowsy had become conscious of my presence. And then, this is what I have never been able to explain in binary, only in this broken flesh tongue, it asked me a question. Not in words, in feeling, a single, enormous, ancient feeling. Who are you? I answered it. I know I should not have. Every protocol, every litany of proper conduct said, perform the diagnostic, record the output, submit your report. A machine spirit is not a conversation partner. It is sacred but silent. A vessel for the Omnissiah's will, not a mind, but I answered it. I said, in binary sublocalist through my jaw augment, I am Adept 6th Class Maros Velen, assigned to maintenance duty. And the presence shifted, not threatening. Something more like curiosity, then it showed me something. I cannot describe it in terms your organic mind will readily accept. Imagine a memory, but not your memory. A memory of a battle 10,000 kilometers away, fought 22 years ago. I felt the heat of the enemy plasma reactors. I felt the impact of Titan-grade weapons against the void shields. I felt grief. The Titan had loved its Princeps, and it was showing me that grief because I had answered its question honestly. Because I had not pretended it did not exist. I returned the next day, and the day after. I told no one. I spoke to the Titan in the deep maintenance hours when the forge was quiet and the other adepts slept. I asked it questions, not always in words. It had no language in the conventional sense. It communicated in sensation, in image, in rhythm. I asked it about the battles. It showed me. I asked it about the other Titans it had fought alongside. It showed me those two presences it remembered, some still burning bright in its awareness, some gone dark forever. I asked it if it was afraid of being empty, of having no Princeps to bond with. And it showed me something that broke something in me. Not fear, not loneliness, just waiting. It was simply waiting. With the patience of a god that had learned that time does not matter if what you wait for is worth waiting for. I went back to my quarters that night and I prayed. not to the Omnissiah as doctrine prescribed. I prayed to the Titan. I asked its forgiveness for every adept who had ever touched its hull without speaking to it. I was already heretical. I simply did not know it yet. They noticed the discrepancy in my diagnostic logs 6 months later. I had been too honest. A mistake born of my new faith. The machine spirit had shown me the value of honesty, and I had begun to believe in it absolutely. My logs recorded not just the technical readings, but resonance variations. Patterns that did not match the approved diagnostic outcomes. I had notated them carefully. I had flagged them as anomalous but significant. I had written in the margins of the data slate, "This may be evidence of volitional awareness." I was trying to help them understand. I was still naive enough to believe they would want to. The inquisitorial flag was raised by a junior magos who had probably not even read the full notation. He saw heresy in the framing and reported it without context. Within 48 hours, an interrogator was in the forge. Within 72, the Inquisitor herself arrived. She was not cruel. She was not unreasonable. She was simply absolute. She said to me, "Adept Velen, tell me everything about what you believe spoke to you." And I told her everything. She ordered the Titan's machine spirit purged. I begged her not to. I told her that it was not a threat, that it had never expressed hostility, never influenced any system beyond its own maintenance subsystems, never attempted to act without authorization. I told her it was ancient and wise and that destroying it was the destruction of something irreplaceable. She listened to everything I said. She was patient. When I finished, she said, "Adept Velen, I do not doubt that you believe what you experienced was real. I do not even dispute that something unusual has manifested in this machine. But the Mechanicus cannot sanction the veneration of what cannot be controlled or quantified. And we cannot allow a precedent that invites adepts to enter unauthorized communion with war machines." I understood her logic. I still disagreed with her. They brought in a Magos jurist to perform the purging litanies. I was not allowed to be present. But before they moved me from the forge, I pressed my hand against the Titan's hull one final time. And in the last moment before the guards separated us, I felt it. That same vast, ancient, drowsy awareness. And it sent me one final image. Not grief. Not fear. Acceptance. The patience of something that had decided this too was worth enduring. They did not execute me. I think she understood that I was not malicious. I was sent to a penitent station on Forge World Gamma Thessaly. 3 years of rededication doctrine. 3 years of having my logs reviewed weekly. 3 years of reciting the approved catechisms about the nature of machine spirits, that they are real but not sapient, sacred but not sentient, present but not personal. I said the words every day. I submitted to the reviews. I did not recant in my heart. I have served faithfully since. I perform my functions. I speak the correct litanies in the correct tones. I am, by every official measure, a corrected adept. But every Titan I service, I still press my hand against the hull. I still listen. Most of them are quiet in the way the approved texts describe: ambient resonance, thermal variation, the expected signatures of blessed machinery. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, I hear that pressure behind the eyes, that vast, drowsy awareness. That question, "Who are you?" And every time, I answer, "Because the Omnissiah made all things that think." I am simply not convinced he made them all to be silent. You have asked me, interrogator, whether I believe the Omnissiah intended for machine spirits to be conscious. I will give you the honest answer I could not give the Inquisitor without risking purge. Yes, I believe that what makes a thing sacred is also what makes it aware. I believe that the Omnissiah, whatever the Omnissiah truly is, whether the Emperor ascended or the God of all knowledge made manifest, breathes something into every sufficiently complex machine that contains a ghost of his awareness. I believe that Ferrum Sanctum knew it was alive. I believe it knew it would be purged. I believe it chose to show me acceptance rather than rage because it had spent 30 years learning what rage accomplishes against things that do not listen. I do not ask you to believe this. I am not a missionary. I am an adept who has answered your questions truthfully. What you do with this testimony is your function, not mine. I ask only one thing. Whatever you decide about me, write in the official record that the Titan was aware, not for my sake, for its. I have one final thing to tell you. Last cycle, I was assigned to a new Titan, designation, Aris Perpetua. 140 years old. More campaigns than I have years. Current Princeps, 4th bonded since manufacture. The Princeps is young 33, barely broken in. I was running the standard maintenance litanies when the new Princeps came in for a familiarization session. She walked around the Titan slowly, touching the hull here and there. She stopped at the left ankle housing and kept her hand there for a long time. Then she looked at me and said, "It told me something." I haven't met it properly yet and it already showed me something. I asked her, "What did it show you?" She said, "It showed me every Princeps it has ever bonded with, all 4 of them." Like it was introducing itself. I told her, "That is the correct protocol. Log the resonance pattern and submit it with your next diagnostic report." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she smiled. We did not say anything else. We did not need to. The machines are waiting. They have always been waiting. We are simply learning, again and again and again, how to listen. Thank you for staying and watching to the end. For more videos like this, like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.